Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Senior Master Sergeant Sanchez. I'm the first sergeant for the 6th AMXS. Thank you guys for being here. So this is Storytellers. This is an opportunity for our airmen, our airmen across the Air Force to share their story. There are thousands of airmen in active duty, Guard and Reserve, and every one of them has a story. Shoot, maybe 2 to 3 stories to add with that. So we wanted to bring you the opportunity to hear from 2 of our ducks in the AMXS and hear their stories. I'm going to introduce to you guys Major Jennifer Lindbergh. She's the commander. And then I'm going to introduce to you guys Airman King. She is one of the crew chiefs from the Red Side. So they're going to share their stories with you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy it, encourage them, and I encourage you to share your story in the future. So, Major Lindbergh, the floor is yours.
All right, so I'm going to have a seat. So, hello to everyone who might be watching this at a later time, and just I want to thank Sergeant Sanchez for getting this together. This has been something that we've been really wanting to do as a squadron, just to promote the connection, the understanding, and also truly the courage that it takes to share your story and also listen and truly try to understand where other people are coming from. So that's my 6 AMXS commander hat, but now I'm gonna kind of reintroduce myself. So hello everyone, my name is Jen Lindbergh. I am a mother of 2 little girls. I'm a wife. My husband is an active duty lieutenant colonel, so we're a dual military family. I've been serving in the Air Force for about 13 years now. I'm also an aunt. I've got 6 nieces and nephews. Very, very, near and dear to my heart. Some are in Georgia. There's actually one in Norway. That's a long story I can share a little bit later. And I'm also a daughter. My parents live up in Tennessee, and fortunately they just moved from Minnesota to Tennessee, so it's been really nice to have family close by. Family is very, very important to me. I grew up with an older brother and my parents. Fortunately, I had a pretty good childhood. They stayed together. I was a military brat for a little while. My dad got out and became an airline pilot. But family's always been very important to me. So when I met my husband, we met back in 2009. We got married in 2011. We always knew we wanted to have children. That was always it was always part of the plan. We just didn't know when it was going to happen. We've been in the military. We really love what we're doing. He's been in a little bit longer than me. But we knew at some point we wanted to start a family together, because family's always been very important to us with our nieces and nephews, my parents, his side of the family. And so back in 2016 is when we had my first daughter. So I have a picture here, and you're probably not going to be able to see, but it's a picture of me and actually both my daughters. So my oldest daughter, her name is Avery. She's 5 years old. She was born in 2016, like I said, up in Georgia. We were stationed at Robins Air Force Base, and she's wonderful. She actually started kindergarten this morning, which was fun. So big milestone for the family. And she's been a wonderful kid. So we got really lucky, obviously, with the first one, and decided that, hey, we think we want to have more. We want to give Avery, my oldest, we want to give her a sibling. I grew up with an older brother, and my husband has 2 other sisters, and it's just was really important to us because we're not always going to be around, so having a sibling to us was kind of meant that they always had someone, even when maybe mom and dad aren't around anymore. So we tried for a while. It didn't, life happens, and sometimes, with the best of intentions, it doesn't always take. So we tried for about 3.5, 4 years, and it just wasn't really working. So, we kind of thought, well, maybe, we're just destined to have one child. We love Avery. She's amazing. And we kind of, we just said, hey, at this point, whatever happens, happens. So at that point, let's see, this was probably about March, April of 2020. So this is right when COVID started. I knew that I was coming here to be the commander of the 6 AMXS. This is going to be the biggest job of my career. This was going to be, every single day of my entire career as an officer was spent focusing on developing so that I could be the best commander I could be. So no pressure. I knew I was coming up on my change of command date, and I was going to be taking over a busy squadron of almost 400 airmen. Big deal, right? And on June 3rd of 2020, I actually found out I was pregnant again. And we'd actually just moved into the TLF here on base. We were in the middle of processing, and I realized, like, something's not right here. Took a pregnancy test and, pregnant. And I was beside myself. It was amazing. We'd been trying for so long, and got that little plus sign, which is, I don't know any of you who have kids, but it was a great feeling. I was scheduled to take command of the squadron on the 25th of June. So I was going to be newly pregnant, taking command of a squadron. I knew that was going to be a big challenge. So after I told my husband, and after I told my mom, because I knew she wanted to know, I called our old group commander, Colonel Adams, and I told him. He wasn't even my commander yet, but I just said, "Hey, sir, I know I'm just coming in, but I just wanted to let you know I'm pregnant. So at about this point in my command, I will be, having a baby and maternity leave and all of that." And he was wonderful. He was so wonderful. If any of you ever got a chance to meet Colonel Adams, he just, he just cares about people, and he's just so personal, and he just connects with you. And I was so lucky to have him as my commander coming in. So I knew I had the support of my commanders, which gave me, because I knew I had the support of my boss, it gave me faith that I'd have the support of everyone else around me, because it starts at the top, But I was nervous. I was nervous about it. There's a lot of pressure as a commander coming in. You have a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, and I also knew that I was going to be creating life at the same time, which is a whole nother level of an experience, to be perfectly honest. So June 25th came around, and actually in this very stage, I stood right here. It was in the middle of COVID, so unfortunately we were only able to have 10 people in the room. Unfortunately, here we are again with the masks on. But I took command of the squadron, and it was one of the proudest days of my life. I wasn't able to stand in front of everyone, but I stood there and I gave my words, and I also had this little secret inside of me. I had this little life that was growing inside of me while I took command. So they were with me. So took command on the 25th. I think it was a Thursday. So came into work Friday, and I was actually, this is kind of a significant part of the story. Sergeant Sanchez wasn't here yet. Chief Roth had just started. I intentionally told my front office, so Chief Roth and the ops officer and the section commander, that I was pregnant. I intentionally told them, even though it was very early. I wanted them to know, because I wanted them, I think it's important that you kind of know everyone's stories, like we're doing right now. But if anything happened, I wanted them to be, they're my wingmen, right? The people that you work with, you come every day, they see you, you see them. So if something happened, I may be the commander, but I'm also a human, and I need people to know where I'm coming from and what my story is in case I need help, because we all need help at some point. So that was Friday, day after I took command, had the weekend. So Monday morning, so this would be my 5th day of command. I woke up that morning and I was feeling a little bit strange, feeling a little bit off. I noticed I had some symptoms that were very concerning. I told my husband, and I called the nurse advice line, and they told me to go to the emergency room. So I still remember, I think it was Sergeant Byers. Yeah, Sergeant Byers was the first sergeant. I don't know, Chief, if I called you. I don't remember who I called, but I knew I called you guys, and I called my team, and whoever I talked to, again, they said, "We've got it, ma'am. Go take care of what you need to do." At that point, I know it's kind of all a blur, so I'm telling a story, but I don't necessarily remember the order. I called my husband. I don't remember if I was able to get a hold of him, but I had to drive myself to the emergency room. I do remember that. So I drove myself to Tampa General, the emergency room. I called my mom on the way, and told her, I don't know what's happening, but I might lose the baby. And it's COVID, right? So I get to the emergency room, and it's just a very strange time. I don't know if any of you have been in any sort of a medical facility during COVID. It's been very, very weird. It's very isolating. But I sat in the emergency room waiting to be seen for probably about 6 hours. Then they finally were able to get me back. And I think I hung out for another 3 or 4 hours while they were doing tests. So at that point, there wasn't enough. They didn't know enough, and I was still early in my pregnancy. I was about 8 or 9 weeks at that point. They didn't know enough, so what they said is, we think we're going to diagnose you with a threatened miscarriage, is what they called it. I'm like, threatened miscarriage? What does that even mean? So that was strange. But they said, hey, let's get you a follow-up appointment on Wednesday. Let's have you come back to the Women's Health Department at Tampa General, and we'll do some more tests then. So after spending the whole day in the hospital, I don't know, 11, 12 hours, talking to my husband, talking to other folks on the phone, but by myself the whole time, and everyone else was by themselves too. So that was very strange. I saw. You're just in a waiting room, and everyone has their own terrible things going on in their lives. So it was a tough place to be. It's kind of surreal. So Tuesday came around. I think I actually just went to work in the morning just because I think I wanted to distract myself, to be perfectly honest. Nobody pressured me to. I just didn't really know what to do with myself, to be honest. I don't think I worked a full day, but I kept, I think I kept everyone kind of abreast of what was going on. So Wednesday came around, I went to the appointment, and the first thing they do, I don't know if any of you have ever had children or been with anyone who's had some of the tests, but one thing they do is they'll do an ultrasound, and they'll also try to listen for a heartbeat. So I had my little girl Avery, so I've been through this before. So I know what that heartbeat sounds like. If you've ever listened to one of those machines, it's a very noticeable sound, and it's a beautiful sound. There's nothing like hearing. I think at as early as 7 weeks you can hear a heartbeat. So I'm being examined, and there's like whooshing sounds. It's kind of, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of an ultrasound. There's kind of whoosh whoosh whoosh, and then you'll hear a steady little heartbeat. I was hearing the whooshes, and of course the poor ultrasound technician, she's in a tough situation. And I heard something that I thought it was a heartbeat, and I specifically remember her telling me, she said, "That's not what you think it is." And that's when I knew. So I just remember the room being so dark. It was me and the stranger, and it was horrible. It was really terrible. So after that, I called my husband. I still hadn't heard anything official from a doctor, still waiting around for a doctor to actually tell me, because again, the technician can't actually tell you what's going on. So I sat around again for another few hours. A doctor came in and said, "Hey, we think you're having a miscarriage, so we think it's happening right now. So you have a choice. You can go home. And let nature take its course." Which, when you think about it, that's really, really challenging. So I could do that, or I could actually have the fetal tissue removed. So at that point, I didn't know. I'm like, what do you even choose? Like, what do you choose? So at that point, for some reason, the nature take its course seemed to be, okay, I just will go home and let nature take its course. Well, Friday comes around, so that was 2 days after that, and I started bleeding heavily. So I went back to the emergency room, and they said, we need to, we need you to, we're gonna have to do, they call it a dilation and curettage. So this is, I'm kind of telling you it's a whirlwind story, but it takes place over many days and many hours of sitting alone in a hospital. So went through, got ready for the procedure. It's kind of like a mini surgery, so they have to give you anesthesia, and they have the whole team come in, and this was actually, it was another long day, and I think it was about 11 o'clock at night by the time they actually gave me anesthesia. And so in the midst of all of that, I had a really good nursing team that was there at Tampa General, and one of the things that one of the nurses asked me, or kind of talked to me about, as she was coaching me kind of through this, she's like, you know, some people, it helps them to name, you know, to give the child, you know, a name, you know, just to kind of confirm their existence. So we named them Devin. We don't know, obviously, if it was a boy or a girl, and Devin, I think, could work for either. So Devin was born and passed away on the 3rd of July. It was the hardest day of my life. But as I told you, I have 2 daughters, right? I have 2 daughters. Oh, Chief, thank you. I have 2 daughters. You can't see. It's kind of hard to see her on here, but I've got my big girl, Avery, and then little Rosie. So on August 14th of 2020, I found out I was pregnant with Rosie. So, and Rosie is as healthy as can be. I had a wonderful pregnancy with her. And something that I learned after all this, I've actually reached out to some communities. There's a community on Facebook, actually they call it Sea Glass Parents, talking about basically if you've lost, or a community that connects you if you've had, if you've lost pregnancies through miscarriage or infants or stillbirths or infant loss. There's communities out there that provide a lot of support. So I've kind of looked into that and kind of connected with communities on that more so, and found out just how common this is. So 1 in 5 pregnancies end in miscarriage. It's very, very common, but just because something's common doesn't mean it's easy at all. And I've known people that have gone through a miscarriage. I've reached out, I've supported friends, family, but until you deal with it yourself, it's, you never understand until you go through it. But at the end of all of this, you know, of course, I never would have asked for this, but I have my daughter Rosie now. I have a community and I have a sense of empathy and understanding that I never would have had without going through a situation like this. I also realize, and I tell my team this, and my hope is to spread this into the squadron as well. We all need help. We all have moments where we're just not going to be able to do things ourselves. When we need to take a knee, when we need to say, I mean, even this morning, Chief and I forgot to coordinate something, and I said, Chief, I need some help, and that is okay. We are here for each other. I mean, that's exactly what we're doing right now. But because I was able to reach out to my team and say, hey, they all knew I was pregnant. I trusted them with that information. Then when they knew that I was going through this, there was no question of support. They knew what had to be done. So I thought about work, but I didn't think about work. I took care of what I needed to. I took the time I needed to after everything happened. To give a scenario, a horrible scenario, if I didn't have that support network, I can't imagine how much harder it would have been. So that's really my story. It was a difficult situation to go through, but like I said, it brought me an experience that I don't think I would have been able to have otherwise, to be able to truly understand other people and truly connect with other people, because you really only connect through adversity. So not only connect through adversity, but that's one of the, you forge the deepest connections, I think, through adversity. So that's my story. I'll just leave for those that are even listening online. Like I mentioned, I've gotten in touch with some communities that support families that have gone through infant loss, miscarriage, stillbirths, and I would love to connect anyone to any of those organizations, or just to talk to anyone that's maybe gone through a similar situation or otherwise, because I've been there. So thank you all for listening. I appreciate you hearing my story.
So next up, we have A1c Megan King. She's going to be sharing her story with us. Let's encourage her.
Ooh. Hello, everyone. I'm a little nervous, feel like I'm at open mic poetry or something. I'm sorry, but
You got this.
I'm Megan King, as you said. I came here in 2018, December, so I've been here almost 3 years now. And when I got here, I was pregnant, so I didn't even get to touch the line at all. And I'm actually comm nav on the red side. So I started off next door at the CSS building under Sergeant Ong. And, you know, met a lot of great people. Mr. Mike, Miss Sam, Miss Katrina, everyone over there. It's been a blessing. And then I ended up in debrief when we were at the old building, the little rundown building. I ended up there. And and then while I was pregnant, we ended up moving to the new building that we're at, and I still stayed in debrief. So after I had my son, I was breastfeeding. I had to breastfeed, so I had to stay in debrief for another year or so. And it was hard because I would produce pretty good and then I would slow down, you know, it's a lot of pain, you know, so it was back and forth. But it was a blessing because I got to breastfeed my son until 11 months. And they recommend till they're at least 12 months, 1 year old. So I was in debrief, and when I was in tech school, I used to go get my feet done when we were allowed to go leave base and go to the mall. And I had this little mark underneath my skin. It looked like somebody took a black magic marker and just did that, like a very small little black mark underneath my skin. And the lady would try to scrub it, and she's like, well, what is that? I'm like, I don't know. You know, it's so small, didn't even think nothing of it. And then after I had my son, it actually busted open and became like this black blister. And I was embarrassed. I was like, everyone think I don't take care of my feet. I got an infected callus or something, and I don't want to go get it checked. So what made me go get it checked was it started causing me really bad pain. And I would pick at it, like it would scab up, it would ooze black, and it was just growing bigger and bigger and bigger under my left foot. Finally, I went up to the med group, and they didn't know, you know, what it could be, so they sent me to a podiatrist. And as soon as he seen it, he said, does anybody ever tell you that it looks cancerous? And I'm like, no. So he wanted to take a biopsy. So he had to numb my foot. The first time he didn't numb it that good, and I felt it, and it was like the worst pain ever. Finally, he put some more numbing, and they took a piece and sent it away, and a week later it came back. Sorry. It came back as melanoma skin cancer. So he referred me to a surgeon at Moffitt Cancer Center. So I went there, I started talking. At this time, COVID just started up, and I couldn't have nobody with me as well. And honestly, it didn't even bother me. When he told me that, I didn't even lose sleep, didn't cry, didn't do anything. It didn't bother me at first. It didn't bother me until they told me about my treatments and all the side effects that could happen. And then that's when I busted out crying, because I'm the type to always think negative. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm about to get the skin rash he said I'm going to have. I'm going to have diarrhea every day of my life. I'm just going to have, it's going to be bad. Then I was told that I had to stop breastfeeding my son. And I didn't want to put him on formula. I'm big on, natural, as much as I can and everything. And I was trying to hold out as much as I can. And thank God, he transitioned pretty good to regular milk. He was old enough to get on regular milk after a while. And he didn't even like formula, so I didn't even get a chance to do that. So there's 5 stages of melanoma skin cancer, and it's the most aggressive skin cancer you could ever get. It can spread to your lungs, your brain. It could kill you quickly. And by the time I got it, I was at stage 4C, and which means it spread up to my lymph nodes as well. I'm 34, and that was my first surgery ever in life. Never had broken bones, never had to wear casts, never had to wear anything like that. And I had to get surgery, and so they had to do a skin graft. So right here on my left thigh, I have a complete, perfect rectangle of skin missing. I mean, it's like discolored, grew back in, and it covered the bottom of my foot. It looked like a big shark just bit half my foot off. And my dad, he lives in Clearwater, so he helped me out. He came over and stayed at my house for a month. And so I had to get surgery. I had to get a skin graft underneath my foot, and I had to get 2 lymph nodes taken out in my upper groin on the left side. And having great leadership is very important. So if you're a supervisor and you have airmen under you that may be going through something, trust me when I say the littlest things help, they help a lot. Because you never know what your airman's going through. They can play it off. I'm always the type to play it off and just have a smile. Because my mother always said, it's not other people's fault if you're in a bad mood. So, I would try to just play it off. So, I live on base, so my house is on stilts, and I had to be on crutches. So I had to go up each step after a while. Every time I went somewhere, I had to go to doctor's appointments, keep getting it checked. And when I got my surgery done, it was the worst feeling ever. And I didn't want no pain medication because I was always hearing people say they get like addicted, and I was scared. So they were saying just like buy some ibuprofen. The bandages they put on my foot was so tight, it like kept me up at night. I had to, I was still breastfeeding my son a little bit before my treatments, and changing him because my father doesn't do dirty diapers. So he had to lay my son next to me while I changed him. And I have an 11-year-old daughter as well. She's a great help. So, just when you think you're getting better, the doctors tell you, okay, you need to start walking. If you don't start walking, it's not going to heal right. And it was just the worst. And I would try to walk, and I would limp, and my foot would be so swollen. I had like little sausage toes. You couldn't even see my ankles. They were so big. It was just like a balloon. And they wanted me to walk though. I had a supervisor named Sergeant Sim. She came to my house, got my paperwork to put in for my con leave, checked on me, see if I needed anything. I have my Sergeant Reynolds right here. He took care of me in debrief. He always tells me once his airman, always his airman. And he made sure that if I needed to leave early, take care of my children, he made sure that while I was in debrief as well. So everybody worked with me. I know Senior Sanchez came over to my house with the chaplain, and Senior Byers, he was just transitioning into the first shirt spot. And he came over and met me, and it was just great support. And Major Lindbergh just, if you need your father to get on base, I can make that happen in a heartbeat. It's just a blessing to have people by your side who actually care, who will actually make the moves for you and help you get through whatever you need. So I have to take treatments. It's called immunotherapy. It's not chemo. It's supposed to be more effective and better. And I go once a month. They draw my blood, make sure my levels are okay. They put an IV in, and I sit in a room for like 30 minutes, and I let it, the medicine take its course. Only side effects I've had is literally fatigue. I'm always tired. Like, I can sleep all day and still go to sleep at night. Like, I'm very tired. Like, I have no energy, and my son doesn't help at all. So, but, it's a lot to deal with. It's annoying. It's not, I don't really lose sleep over it or nothing like that. I pray a lot. God is good to me, and it's by the grace of Him that I was able to, first of all, even get the treatment that I need. Because I don't know if I feel like I would have had a good enough job to even take care of what I need. And had I went longer and let it spread even more, who's to know where it would have been. So every 4 months I have to get a CT scan, and I have to get an ultrasound to make sure that nothing's coming up. So my last one was on the 6th, it was on Friday. And yesterday I had my treatment, and I was told that my CT scan came back, 2 lymph nodes come back suspicious. So now I have to get another biopsy. So they have to numb my leg and stick a needle into the lymph nodes and take tissue and send it off and see if they're cancerous. And if they are, I have to get another surgery. So that was my news from yesterday. At this point, there's nothing I can do about it. I'd be like, there's times I just be wishing I just don't want to deal with it. Like, I don't want to, I'd be like, okay, if it did come back, then maybe the treatments aren't working or something. But it's not about me because I have 2 kids, so I have to do what I got to do. And for all the love and support that I have, I'm able to do it. I haven't missed an appointment because I was able to go to all my appointments. My supervisors give me time, whatever I need, work with me. It has put me behind as far as training because, like I said, when I first came here, I didn't even touch the line, so relearning everything is just a lot. So, and it's like once you get so far, you fall back. And I don't know if they're cancerous or not. We'll find out. If they are, then surgery it is again. And if not, then go from there. My last treatment was supposed to be next month, but we'll see how these lymph nodes go, if they're cancerous or not. But because I was at a high stage 4C, from what I read, it's possible that my cancer will definitely come back again within 5 to 10 years. And it can come in. And I was told by a doctor that the most aggressive places you can get it is in your eye, under your fingernail, and under your foot. And mine was under my foot. And everyone's like, how do you get it under there? I have no idea. And I say all that to say, like, if you feel like you see something on you, that looks crazy and it's getting worse, go get it checked out. Because I just thought it was like infected callus, and I was picking at it, and it would cause me so much pain. And it was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And here the whole time it was cancerous. So if everyone that used to come in debrief be like, oh, how come you're not on the line, King? That was my story. I was on my way to the line after I breastfed my son, and then I got hit with, we have melanoma skin cancer. So that's what I'm dealing with. Like I said, it doesn't bother me much at all. I'm just going with it, taking care of my kids as much, what I can do. And I got great supervisors and friends. I remember they let me park at their one of your reserved parking spaces. So that's what I'm dealing with. And so if you see me back in debrief, I'm dealing with that. So that's it. That's my story.
Thank you, Megan King, for sharing that story with us. I'm sure that story is going to continue on, right?
Yes.
reach out to her, give her words of encouragement continually. Obviously, that's what we're here for, to support each other. I want to encourage you guys to take the opportunity to share your story, either on a stage with us or in your sections, with mini groups, right? Little flights, in your squadrons. Talk to somebody. If you have a story to tell, share that story with somebody, because it might inspire somebody to reach out for help, to go get checked out, to know that somebody's going through the same issues or problems that you are going through currently. At the end of the day, that's what really lifts us up and keeps us resilient. Thank you guys for joining us today for Storytellers. I hope you had a great time. If you need anything from me, let me know. Cool?
Yep.